my name is Isabella and I'm studying a Bachelor of Secondary Education with Biology and English as my study areas. Hopefully at the end of my degree I become a qualified teacher and my favourite Australian animal is the ring-tailed possum.
Invertebrates make up 65% of all species on the planet, and they play a vital role in many ecological processes, many of which are endangered and are under legal protection. There are several methods used to survey for invertebrates. Direct observations of active and visible species, such as butterflies and bees, can be observed in fields during a walkover. Another method is hoovering the ground to collect samples that are later sorted through to identify invertebrates. This is also known as suction sampling. Hand searching is also a common technique used when surveying for hidden invertebrates. They can be hidden beneath stones, among plants, and in dead wood.
My name is Kobe Wolf. I'm studying health science and want to pursue working with athletes in a physio sense. My favorite animal is the wallaby because it reminds me of the squirrel of Australia. There are a handful of different ways to survey birds to look at their populations and movements. Almost every situation requires that a method is slightly modified in order to adapt it for local or species-specific use. The methods I will be discussing are area search, transects, rolling bird survey, stationary count, and checks. Area search involves searching a set area and recording data only from within a predefined search zone. This area is usually covered by walking a route, which is very flexible, but in some cases parallel, equally spaced out transects, which I will cover next. These are used to ensure complete coverage of an area. A transect is a straight line that is walked by an observer who records data as they move along the transect. In this method, the observer cannot wander off the transects and record birds. Of course, use common sense and don't walk through a stinger tree or off a cliff. You would often mark a transect with color flagging tape to know where your transect is. The next method is a rolling bird survey. In this method, observers step at a series of survey points and spend a set time period at these set points recording birds before moving on to the next. During this time, birds that are heard or even seen are recorded. Stationary count involves data recording during a single stop where the observer remains in one place. There is usually a set duration of data recording. This method is similar to the stops on the rolling bird survey. Lastly, there's the checks method. This is when volunteers will be required to make regular visits to specific sites to record data. These sites often contain flocking sites or nests. Of course, great care needs to be taken when checking nests, and disturbance to the breeding birds must be avoided.
Hi, I'm Clemens. I'm doing a bachelor's in biology in Marburg, which is in Germany. After I finish, I want to get a PhD, and probably in microbiology and work in a lab somewhere. My favorite animal in Australia is the koala, because it can sleep and eat all day, and it doesn't get disturbed by predators, so it's the best role model ever. So, you want to go out and look for some animals? First, get some binoculars. Your eyes aren't as good as the animals you're looking for, and while this may be your weekend trip, for the animals their life depends on it, so if they see you, they will run. Now you can go out. When? Depends on what you want to see. Don't go looking for bears in the winter, don't look for bats in the day. Good times are around sunrise and sunset, so buckle up, you can sleep next week. Where? Look up where your animals live. Once you're on the area, look where they might find something interesting. For them, interesting means something good for survival. That's food and water. When you're there, shut up. You don't want to bore the animals to death with your conversation. Also, stop stomping around. Look for trails, tracks, scattered feathers. Also, listen to nature. For example, birds will warn each other when predators are present, while frogs will probably go silent. Once you find an area where animals might be, sit still. If you want to go next level, you can camouflage yourself or even practice some bird calls.
Camera traps are arguably the most popular non-invasive sampling technique. One needs a camera and, optionally, a trigger which activates the camera when an animal is present. We can use bait to hold the animal in a place for long enough to take a picture. The image can then be used as scientific evidence. The reasons for their popularity are simple. They're relatively cheap, easy to use, and work without humans present. They're used in many different scenarios, for example to detect rare animals like snow leopards, documenting their behavior, for example in bird nest predation, to monitor distribution, population size and vital rates of thousands of species, from American alligators to Zimbabwean elephants. Many different systems are available. The main difference between those are triggered and non-triggered systems. systems. Non-triggered cameras record continuously and are used if animals occur in the open or behavior occurs frequently, such as feeding in nests. Triggered cameras take a photo if the camera is activated, for example by an animal crossing through an infrared light beam. This is useful to record the presence of an animal at a site and saves power, making weeks of recording possible. Cameras are often placed along trails to improve chances of getting a good shot.
I'm Fiona and I'm completing a bachelor's in biology and environmental studies in the States. I'm currently pursuing a career in environmental law. My favorite Australian animal is a wombat because it can take on a dingo and come out with the wind. When surveying at night, a lack of light is the biggest setback. The use of headlamps or larger flashlights can help you detect animals by their eyeshine. This is the phenomenon that many vertebrates reflect visible light back out of their retina, which helps them see at night and helps us detect their presence by their characteristic glow. One can also play recordings of specific birds, mammals, and frogs to elicit a response from the species being surveyed. This response could be a call back, or it could be the species actually approaching. When using this technique, one has to be wary of not playing too much of the recorded audio, and not during breeding season, when the playback calls may really disrupt the animal's behavior. Examining scat and animal tracks in the daylight can help you identify which animals have been roaming, and sometimes what their behavior is like. Nocturnal animals that are especially elusive can be trapped and identified in the morning.
When conducting wildlife surveys, it is important to adapt ethical surveying methods and handle wildlife appropriately. The Australian Code for the Care and Use of Animals for Scientific Purposes, also known as the Code, discusses concepts for improving the welfare of animals used in scientific research. These concepts are known as the 3 R's: the replacement of animals with other methods, the reduction of the number of animals used, and the refinement of the techniques used to reduce the impact on animals. The 3 R's are not just limited to laboratory studies, they also apply to wildlife surveys. It is important to use the method with the least impact and appropriate to the species targeted. If traps are used, they must be in good working condition and clean prior to use. During breeding or drought season, it is best to avoid trapping as animals may be under great stress. However, if surveys are being conducted, traps must be checked more often to avoid mortality. The type of bait used to lure in an animal must be appropriate to its diet. This means that it must compensate for the food and water it would have consumed had it not been trapped. The location of traps is essential to maintain the health of animals. They should be protected from sun, wind and rain and should not be in areas of high ant activity. They must all be easy to locate and remove from habitats at the end of the trapping season. After an animal is caught, they should be released as soon as possible from the site that they were caught. Trapping should be ceased immediately if there is an unusually high rate of mortality.
So, you see this fluffy ball sleeping in a tree. You're wondering what the hell it is, and you take out your books. Yep, definitely has fur, should be a mammal. You choose your mammal book. You're in Queensland, so you open up the right key and off you go. First question, snout long and naked or short and furry? Well, I wouldn't call it furry, but not really long either. Let's go on. Oh yeah, the body isn't covered in spines and the snout isn't duckbill-like, so it's most likely neither a platypus nor a cnida. Puh, glad we got that out of the way. So, continue on to number 2. Wings? Not really. Flippers? A tail fin? No, not looking at the ocean. Teeth? Maybe I'll find out with yawns. Thin ears? Long tail? Hooves? Getting very specific here. Does it look like a cat, dog or a fox? Well, maybe a lab mistake, one with a subscription to McDonald's. 2's 2 and 3 fused along the length. I'll take out my binoculars. Jackpot! So, it's a marsupial, key 4. Is the tail small or well developed? Well, it looks small to me. Snout appears flattened. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that's the foot again. The first toe is small or is it large? Well, I'd say it's small, but what do I know? The fingers 1 and 2 are opposed the others are in the same direction. I wouldn't say all in the same direction. Does it spend most of its time on the trees or in the ground? Well, how convenient. Looks like our furry friend is indeed a koala.
The second species we're going to walk through identifying is a rather inconspicuous brown bird found in a tree in the dry bush. It's got a gray breast, its feathers are a dusty gray-brown, and you notice a pink crest on the back of its head. Its beak is slightly curved, but not too long. It seems to take pity on you and flitters down from the tree and hops away. It leads you to an arching structure of sticks underneath the foliage. There are shiny bits of plastic and metal littered all around. Look inside. It's even interior decorated. This looks like a bower meant to draw females in to mate. It is October after all, which is the beginning of breeding season.
I'm Duncan and I'm pursuing a bachelor's degree in biology. I plan to attend graduate school to become a physician's assistant. My favorite Australian animal is the red kangaroo, as it is the national symbol for Australia. After being dropped in a random location in Australia, I come across a creature that has just left its den. Noting an abundance of black fur, I can confidently label the organism as a mammal. Its medium-sized body allows me to rule out the possibility of it being a rodent. The creature is also observed to have white markings on its chest area, prominent whiskers, and a lack of fur in the shape of rings around its eyes. Suddenly, it turns at an angle that reveals a pouch containing a newborn. It's a marsupial. I pull out my book of Australian marsupials that I just happen to have on me and start narrowing down the options. Not a koala, its ears aren't bushy enough. Not a kangaroo or wallaby, its fur is too dark and it doesn't stand on two legs. It could be a wombat. I step closer to get a better look, but just as I do, it bares its carnivorous teeth as a warning. At this point, it becomes clear. I am not in mainland Australia. I am in the home of the Tasmanian devil. Because of migratory patterns of some mammals, you must first ensure that the survey is conducted at the correct time of year to obtain accurate data on the species. Some mammals can be easily seen and counted. However, others are highly secretive and many mammals are nocturnal. Therefore, different surveying techniques will be required depending on the species being surveyed. Standard walks are one survey method recommended for ongoing monitoring of species that are easily seen and or have identifiable field signs. It is probably the best method for monitoring changes in population. This method of mammal surveying includes following the same walking route on a regular basis and obtaining a total count of sightings or signs of the target species. This method should include a walking route of at least 500 meters. Many mammals are routinely monitored by field signs such as tracks and burrows rather than actual sightings. Therefore, the route needs to include the most likely places for these to be found. The walk should begin at the same point each time and cover the sections in the same order. The count should be undertaken by a single observer to ensure consistency. Count should not be taken on days with strong winds, thick fog, or heavy rain. Some mammals, such as small terrestrial animals, will not be found on a standard walk and do not leave readily detectable field signs. In many cases, however, these small mammals can often be easily caught in traps. When using trapping as a survey method, consideration should also be given as to whether to provide nesting material in the trap to help the animal stay warm and food to help sustain trapped individuals. Traps should be visited twice a day at dawn and dusk. When working with trapped animals, it is important to take safety precautions in order to avoid contracting diseases such as rabies.
Hi, I'm Liz and I'm studying a Bachelor of Science majoring in Aquaculture and Zoology and Ecology at JCU. I'm keen to get involved in the aquaculture industry in northern WA up around Broome next year. And my favourite Australian animal would have to be the crimson rosella. I think accurate and reliable information is an important aspect of animal surveys to ensure the data is useful to others. Recorded survey data should include detailed information on who was involved in the data collection, the date and time of collection, what work was carried out, and how the survey was conducted, and where. It is useful to record the GPS location of all sampling units and provide maps of the target area. It is also important to include detailed descriptions of the habitat and the site conditions, as well as climatic conditions at the time. Documenting the habitat during the survey process and a site description will add value to the survey. Aerial maps showing the target area and distribution of the equipment, such as trapping equipment, as well as identifying known or potential foraging, breeding, and commuting areas is also useful to be shown. Information should be reported following the standard aims, methods, results, and discussion format common to all scientific research projects. Without this information, it is difficult to interpret the survey results and impossible to replicate the study for comparative purposes. Survey data should also be made available to state and territory environment departments to be included in fauna databases to allow use by others.